I want to first welcome our live audiences that have joined us from SNY, our radio station, WFAN, as well as all the different social media outlets from the New York Mets. Just going to relay a couple of agenda items. Once the speakers are complete, then we're going to have a photo opportunity in front. We're going to have a Q&A, so we'll guide you through all that, and then there will be some one-on-one opportunities. So with that, we'll begin our program by calling forward Mets Chief Operating Officer Jeff Wilpon.
Well, thank you everybody for being here today. We're very proud and excited to introduce our 13th General Manager for the New York Mets, Brodie Van Wagenen. Brodie? I need to thank a bunch of people. I talked to everybody at the end of the season about how we're going to go through a process. So Jeff LeBeau, John, Rico, J.P. Ricciardi, Omar, and Sandy, who's not here today, and of course my dad, Fred, their support and attention during this process was amazing. It was a long process. We had 40-some-odd people that we considered when we started. We narrowed that down to about a dozen that we invited in, spent over 2 hours with each of them. Very thorough process, learned a lot going back and forth with everybody. Different diverse backgrounds from the entire group. We got down to the final three, which were again quite diverse and quite different, all deserving of the job. But we felt that going this deep and being this exhaustive with our plans, we hired our first choice and somebody that we think is going to be great, getting him on board before the GM meetings in Brodie. Some of Brodie's attributes, you know, he's a leader, he's organized, he's going to be collaborative with our entire staff. The integrity that he brought to this process early on when we spoke, being a team builder, his positivity and the process he plans to go through to bring this organization to a sustainable winning position. And that's the key word we want to use, is sustainable. We want to be a sustainable organization moving forward. You know, he's got a plan. He's got deep analytic background. He's got deep scouting background. You know, he finds players before we even get to see them in the minor leagues and things. His player development and scouting will be tremendously important to the entire organization moving forward. What stood out was some of the bright ideas he had. He was excellent in his collaborative approach that he wants to take with our front office. We want to get this franchise to where the fans want it to be, which is a winning, sustainable, years of winning going forward. So I think this approach that he has and what is he going to bring to us? He's going to bring some excitement. He's going to bring a different look at things than we've had from traditional GMs. And I think he's got his full support of ownership behind him, and he's going to bring a sustainable winner. So again, we're really energized by this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for years to come. I know I haven't seen my dad this excited about a hire that we've made in a long time. And without further ado, Brodie, congratulations.
Let's go here.
I'm already ready to talk. And one more handshake, please.
Well, first, this is a little different experience being on this side of the podium. Normally, I'm down here with you guys. Jeff, thank you. Harold, thanks for the introduction. I'm excited. This is a great opportunity. I'm looking forward to it. Thank all of you for coming. This is a little bigger crowd than what we typically have. I don't think Cespedes had this big of a crowd. But first, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge Sandy Alderson. When I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area in 1992, Sandy was the general manager of the Oakland A's. He was revered on my college campus, and he was a role model to many people like me who had ambition to work in professional sports. It's humbling to stand here today as I try to follow in his footsteps. Sandy and I had the fortune to work on many different transactions over the years, and I learned lessons from each one of those. Sandy, if you're listening, I hope to lean on you a lot as we go forward in this new chapter. Now I'd like to thank Fred Jeff, the entire Wilpon family, for their trust and their commitment. I recognize I am not the path of least resistance, but I'm confident that Mets fans will understand and believe that this will be a great partnership going forward and that we can bring a championship not only now but in years to come. Throughout the process, I learned a few things about this family. First, I learned that it's a family business and that they take tremendous pride in this organization. Family means a tremendous amount to me as well. Fortunately, 3 members of my family are here. My son Rafe couldn't make it. If you're watching, buddy, I'm thinking of you. But it was clear to me that Fred invited my family to be part of this Mets community, and that meant a great deal to me. So Fred, thanks again for that. Second, I was able to see firsthand the passion that both Jeff and Fred had for the game. Over the course of many conversations in the last couple of weeks, we talked baseball. We talked players. We talked pitch sequencing. We talked shifts. We talked about the game. It was invigorating to me, and I look forward to many of those conversations going forward. Most importantly, I came to understand that Fred cares deeply for players, and he forms personal connections with those players. As you might imagine, he and I share that feeling. For 18 years, I worked with players on a day-to-day basis. I helped them to set their goals, and I built game plans to achieve those goals. I believe players should be celebrated. I believe they should be a focal point of any good organization. And make no mistake, I intend for players to be the priority of this franchise going forward. Throughout my conversations with the Wilpons, our communication was consistent. Provide our players with the support and resources they need to succeed. And when they do, recognize their performances and reward their performances. This mindset creates a positive culture and a positive work environment. As is true in all good organizations, good culture yields the best results and increases the probability for success. This is particularly true in baseball. We have a lot of work to do in the coming days and weeks to build a championship roster and to put a good process in place for good decision making. But I want to assure all Mets fans that every person in this organization will be fearless and relentless in our pursuit of greatness. Everyone will be working together in this effort. That will include players, scouts, coaches, and the front office. We will start with our Major League roster, where we already have some of the most talented players in the game. We will infuse new talent to the roster to supplement what is already in place and the foundation that we have. We will be creative. As Jeff said, we'll be collaborative, and we will be proactive. We will invest in our scouting department. We'll invest in our player development, our health and wellness, and our analytics. None of these investments will be mutually exclusive from the other. All will be priorities. Throughout my career, I've come to understand that character and makeup are critical keys to success. I intend to make character the backdrop of this organization. We will identify it, we will develop it, and we will build around it. So before I turn it over to you, I think there's probably a few people that want to ask me questions. I want to leave you with one simple but important mission statement that I have. We will win now. As Jeff said, we will win in the future. We're going to develop a winning culture and a winning mindset. And we will deliver this city and this fan base a team they can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Brodie. At this time, we'll open it up for a Q&A session. Again, for our audiences at home, please, when you raise your hand, identify your name and your affiliation prior to your question. With that, we'll open it up. Steve?
Steve Gelbs, SNY. Brodie, I'm just curious, how long has this been a goal of yours? Had you thought about becoming a general manager for a while now, or is it an idea that Jeff and Fred brought to you and you started to dig in and feel like it was the right path?
Well, like many people, I grew up playing baseball, and the dream of working in baseball was clearly something that was exciting and something that you didn't know if it could become a reality. When my playing days finished, I set out on a career in professional sports really with one goal, is to try to make a positive impact on it. And so my ambition has been that ever since I entered the baseball world. And the opportunity to do it for players for the last 18 years has been something I've taken a tremendous amount of pride in. But I think that it's an exciting time to now be able to impact the game in a different way and now be in a position where I'm trying to win for players and trying to win for an organization where you get judged by your wins and losses.
Bruce in the middle.
Brodie, Bruce Beck, WNBC TV. You said in July the Mets should either trade DeGrom or give him a contract. Now that you are the Mets, how will you handle DeGrom's contract situation?
Sure. Didn't expect that question today. So Jacob DeGrom clearly has established himself as the best pitcher in baseball. Hopefully in a couple of weeks he'll be awarded with that trophy. As I said earlier, I think that you want to try to identify the best players, and you want to keep them for as long as possible. And if our vision and direction does not intend to include a long, sustainable winning team, then you have to consider moving players. But make no mistake, I believe Jacob DeGrom is an incredible talent, and I hope to keep him for a long time.
Wally on the left.
Brodie Wallace Matthews from New York Daily News. Back on the DeGrom issue, did you discuss your possibility of coming over here with DeGrom and Syndergaard, and if so, what was their reaction to it?
Yes, I did, and some of the other clients as well. I think to a man, not only with their Mets clients, but also to clients around the game, there was a tremendous amount of enthusiasm, a tremendous amount of support, and I think a belief that I may be able to bring some fresh perspectives to the team side.
All right, and a quick follow-up to that. Considering the nature of your relationship, especially with those two players, and the fact they haven't had their big free agent contracts yet, do you think you might have to recuse yourself when it comes time to negotiate those?
Yeah, let me answer that, because I had conversations with the commissioner's office, LRD, and Tony Clark directly, and we have provisions in Brodie's contract to deal with any conflicts of interest.
Can you give us more information on that?
No, I'm sorry, I can't right now.
Any others? Rich.
Rich Catino, ESPN Radio. Trading deadline and winter meetings, you're going to be in a much different position than you were as an agent. You'll be making those calls and trying to get people to make trades and sign contracts. Being as though you were on the other end of it, does that give you an actual advantage in being in those times over general managers that weren't on the other side of it?
Well, I wouldn't want to say I have an advantage over people that have more experience than I do, but I think I have insights. I think I understand clearly what players' motivations are and what agents are trying to accomplish, and I certainly have insights into how all of the other teams operate. I think what I've had the benefit of is I've tried to help a number of teams accomplish their goals, and I have a pretty good understanding of what they want to accomplish on a year-by-year basis as they're constructing their rosters. So I do think that I have a unique perspective that I hope to bring to the conversations.
Tim in the middle.
Tim from Newsday. Just curious what your understanding of ownership's degree of involvement is in baseball operations.
Ownership in general, or this ownership group?
This ownership in your new situation.
Well, as Jeff indicated before, I certainly hope that there is a collaborative approach. Every good organization that I've worked for has had a culture of collaboration, and that's one that I value. I mentioned that to both Fred and Jeff when we were going through this process, that I want them to be involved. And the truth of the matter is, if they're not, that's bad ownership.
Good. James.
James Wagner, New York Times. Brodie, just the idea that for all those years, you're on that side of the negotiating table, and might have a rivalry with, say, other agents and, say, other GMs in that way. But now that you're on this side, like, how will you manage those relationships, and how will you deal with them?
Sure. Well, I think on a 10,000-foot level, I've always believed that players and teams need to form partnerships. And if they do, then you find a recipe for success. I also know that agents have certain reputations, and maybe rightfully so. But the goal should be to put players in a position to succeed. And I think if agents take that approach, we as teams want to try to find the right fit, the right formula for success. And I think that agents will embrace the fact that we may be an opportunity and a landing spot for great players.
Dave on the left.
Dave Lennon, Newsday. I guess this goes to both of you guys. Brodie, you talked a lot of investments, for this team. Whether it's players, whether it's scouting resources, whether it's analytical. For both of you guys, does this signal kind of a new investment and a new kind of beefing up for the Mets with new front office personnel and a lot of new personnel to help in those departments, as well as investing in players too?
I'll let you answer on new or not, but we certainly have money put aside. We heard it from all of the candidates that they wanted to beef up certain areas, and what they heard, some of it was right and some of it was wrong from what the media has put out there. But we do have money put aside to make sure we have the resources there for investments in the front office and scouting development, as well as analytics.
And they made that clear to me through the process. Not only are there resources, but I think there's real capabilities that exist in this organization already. And my goal is to bolster and build on top of it.
Mike, also on the left.
Mike Fitzpatrick, the Associated Press. Just questions for Jeff. One of the things that's raised eyebrows about this hire was that there are front offices all over the major leagues with seemingly very qualified, experienced people to come into a role like this. Why go, for you guys, why go in this direction, something so different? What about it has attracted you to it?
Well, I think what Brodie brought, and I'm not saying that anybody else lost, but Brodie was the front runner for us because of what he talked about in terms of collaboration, his excitement, his feeling of what he could do with this organization where we are now and going forward. And we had, like I said, 40 some odd candidates that we talked about and went through, and going through the entire process, this was what we thought would be best for the organization going forward. I realize it's out of the box, and I said we were going to be out of the box to start. And this was truly where we thought we could put the hands of the organization with Brodie.